It's center, University Admissions Center. That's the word. Sorry. Okay, so what is the ATAR? So ATAR stands for the Australian Tertiary Admissions Rank. Okay, rank, not mark, as someone very nicely put in massive handwriting. Okay, so it's calculated by UAC, as I was saying before. So around Easter time is when you are advised to sign up at UAC if you plan on making it to, like, not making it, sorry, that sounds weird. If you plan on like moving into university for your like tertiary studies, then it's worth, well, you have pretty much no other choice but to go through UAC. And there is a little bit of a fee. So if you sign up around Easter time, which is I think when the admissions, like not admissions, but like things start, you have like an early bird special and it's like half price, which I think is April maybe till like July or September or something, maybe July. And then after September, it's like full price and it's like pretty hefty, a pretty hefty amount. So yeah, sign up around Easter time for UAC. But if you're someone that's willing to like not willing to go to uni and wants to do tertiary education at TAFE and you know that you don't want to go to uni, then I suppose if you're happy with not receiving like a proper ATAR mark, then you can like don't need to worry about it because TAFE doesn't take the ATAR into regards. Okay, so from there, from UAC, that's where you are going to put all of your like preferences for uni courses. Okay, so you're going to have your dream course at the very top, and then you'll have four other choices after that. So 5 choices all up. And once you receive your ATAR, UAC is going to send your mark and your file to the university, and the university will be like, oh, they got an ATAR of this, oh, they've got this, and that. Yes or no, and then they'll either admit you or they'll say no, and then UAC will send it to your second choice. It will say yes or no, and then if not, send to your third choice, so on and so forth. That's how the that's how UAC works with your ATAR and the universities. So NESA doesn't really do too much apart from give you a mark and obviously set everything up for the HSC, and then UAC's the people that take it from the HSC onwards. Okay, now how is the ATAR calculated? Okay, so it's got a lot going on for the ATAR to be calculated because there are so many different subjects and each subject has, you know, different difficulty, and that forms, you know, your internal like scaling, and then we have the alignment and moderation of the subjects to get our final results. Okay, and I don't like the word difficult, but because I always feel bad because some people, like, all subjects are difficult, right? But for some people, visual arts might be difficult, and for others, extension 2 might be easier than visual arts. But that's a discussion for another day. So let's go into alignment. Okay, so that's what, like, it affects your raw exam marks. Okay, so think of it as like based off of everyone in like New South Wales. Sorry, I'm just going to admit some more questions. Okay. Everyone in New South Wales in Extension 2 maths gets like a 60%, and that's like 60% is like one of the best scores. And then everyone in I don't know, let's say advanced maths, if we're going to compare the maths, the average mark is like 80%. So what are we going to do? We're going to lift up the people doing Extension 2 maths, because Extension 2 maths is obviously harder than advanced maths. You have to put a lot more effort into it. And not so much that, but if everyone's doing terribly, then it rises, right? So that, because there's probably a reason why everyone's doing terribly. So it just compares apples to apples instead of, you know, apples to oranges. Okay, at least it tries to. Oops. Okay. Yes, so it's for the entire cohort. And they call a band cutoff. Okay, band cutoff is like a certain mark that you should have achieved. So let's say in extension 2 maths, what if it was 52? Then that's how much like you should be able to like achieve in the exam. Okay. We've got the example here. So an advanced maths student achieves a raw mark of 84 in the exam, but after the examiner's review, they decide the cutoff is 84. So this student now receives an aligned mark of 90 in their HSC certificate under examination mark. Okay. So when you receive your HSC like marks, it'll say raw marks and then exam marks. I think it is. So raw marks, they'll see that it's 90. They'll see that it's 84, and then aligned marks or exam marks they'll see as 90. So you'll see both of those in your final results when they text it to you at like 6 a.m. or whatever time it is. And yeah, you'll see both of those numbers. So this is the one that like I suppose actually I don't know which one matters the most. They're both like just kind of arbitrary in the end. But yeah, so 90% like 90% is like a band 6, 80 to 89 is a band 5, 70 to 79 a band 4, so on and so forth. That's how it works. Okay. Now moderation is for your school. Okay, like your school assessment marks. So think of it as you have your internal marks as well. I'm sure lots of people know about this. So 50% of your marks, of your HSC marks, is given by your internal assessments, and the other 50% is for the HSC. Okay, so let's say my school. My school was not the smartest of the schools at all, and we had pretty easy exams. Like I was getting like, I don't know, 95% in most of my exams. And then if you compare me to Bobby over at James Roos, he might be getting like 50%, but he's like overall better at maths than me. So if he's getting 50% and I'm getting 95%, then we aren't comparing apples to apples. So depending on how your school performs in the HSC compared to all the other schools performing in the HSC, that's how your internal marks are also done. And by marks, I'm so sorry, I mean ranks, not marks. Okay. Okay. Let's your distance. Yeah. Okay. So when you're like depending on the clustering of your school's exam marks, that also like impacts your final marks. Okay, so the person getting like the person that's coming first in their cohort, if they're a mile away from like the first, like the person coming second, you will see a bit of a like difference in their marks, because the person coming first gets the highest mark in the cohort, and the person coming last gets the last mark in the cohort, like the lowest mark in the cohort. I know it's a bit mean. And then person coming second will get the second mark, like the second highest mark, and so on and so forth. Now, if there is a big gap between the marks and all the ranks, then everyone's marks will be quite different. However, in schools that are like that teach like very consistently probably isn't the right word, but where the students are receiving the same kind of marks and there's big clustering. So the person that's coming first, second, and third are like super duper close together in terms of like rank time. In terms of marks, that's when like moderation doesn't really do too much, because everyone's like really clustered together and everyone's going to be getting either really good marks or really average marks or really low marks all together. Okay. Now we move on to scaling. Okay, scaling I feel like is the ugliest word of them all. It's the one that a lot of students speak about the most. Okay. Oh, they have a higher scaling subject than me. Oh, this is a higher scaling subject. Okay. So let's go through that together. So there is a myth that everyone always talks about, and it's that harder subjects scale better. Okay. Or that some, like, I've already used the example of like extension 2 maths scaling better than visual arts. Okay. Because the difficulty of the course doesn't necessarily correlate with the subject's scaling. Okay. So a subject is scaled based on the performance of its students in other HSC courses they take. Okay, so if we have Maths Advanced students who performed well in all of the other subjects, then Maths Advanced will scale well, as opposed to like students performing bad in all of their subjects other than maths. So like, let's say they only focused on maths, but they like neglected English and chemistry and physics and DT. Then it won't scale as nicely. Okay. But yeah, it's a weird topic, and I don't think it's like worth like delving too far into, because it's not really going to help, apart from knowing that, number one, your internal marks, they don't matter, your internal ranks do. Okay. Then HSC marks are important, but yeah, so they're where you want to like achieve your absolute best, especially if your ranks aren't doing too great. Okay. I was going to say something and then I forgot. But anyway, yeah, so your final marks, 50% are of your internal marks, not your raw internal marks, but your moderated internal marks. And then the other 50% from your aligned exam mark. Okay? Okay, so this was a really like simple down version. If you do want to like spend some time and think about how everything works, we've got one ATAR notes article here, and then the UX booklet, which obviously goes through all the UX stuff. Okay, so scaling and moderation and whatnot, they're all NESA things. So from the ATAR notes book, you can find that. And then when it comes to like the actual everything you need to know about UX, this is honestly super useful. I'll put it in the announcement if anyone would like to like save that page. Okay.